Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie podcast. It might be Monday, but you know what? It's not Monday anymore. It's Fun Day because we're here to talk about movies and to try and answer the unanswerable question. We try to, as a podcast, define every state in these United States by just one movie. This week, we are attempting to figure out South Dakota. As much as I knew about that state is it's south of North Dakota, but so far, honestly, after the movies we watched this week, I have learned somewhat that Pauly Shore movies aren't exactly the best movies in the world. But to investigate this particular question, I have two incredible co-hosts. My name is Ollie Pettigrew. I love movies. I've always loved movies. I've hosted movie shows, but I have two friends that love movies, if not more than I do, and they're always here to give the hot takes. Like Twister sucks, which is the worst take I've ever heard, and honestly, any take that Ryan brings out, I have to be honest, I am here for. Let's welcome them back to the show. Let's get started because this week's going to be a good one. First of all, Ryan Sonnet, buddy, welcome back, and we're definitely going to judge you for the movie you chose this week.
That's fine. I'm nourished by your hatred. This was such a fun week, and I think we brought such a diverse, colorful collection of films. That's right.
Diverse. That's pretty good.
And I just want to say, like, of all the Dakotas, South is in my top two. It's right up there.
Well, of all my co-hosts, both of you are in my top two. We do have another co-host, and welcome back to the show. The man, the myth, the legend, as always, Will Hirsch. Buddy, welcome back, man.
It's great to be here. Unfortunately, I got some bad news. I invested in a theme park called Snakes and Speedboats, and don't want to get into all the legal troubles, but you're going to read about it in the papers, but we're going to keep moving forward. We're not going to let a couple dozen lawsuits stop
What
us.
In the Florida are you talking about?
I was just inspired by our New Jersey episode. I'm like, I'm going to go achieve my dreams. And listen, we're not going to talk about all the deaths that have resulted.
I was going to pitch you on a park called Gator Jizz, but I think your name might be better.
Well, now hold on.
Hang on. Watch out for the death spiral. Oof, that'll get you.
So the state, we are rapidly approaching the end of season 1, which is awesome to me. Also, I realized, I think last week, that we have actually, without any celebration, passed a year of doing this podcast, which is fantastic. I've absolutely enjoyed it. I can't believe we're almost done with the whole
It's crazy. And I just want to go on the record and say, guys, there's too many states. We got to get states.
we got to start cutting some states.
Yeah, I just watched Civil War and I was like, they might be onto something.
It's like just three different states.
Too many.
Fine.
Think of how easy that flag would be to draw.
Man.
So
there's no downsides to this.
The state we are taking down today is South Dakota. And as I do bring up on the show, part of the inspiration for this show was that everything I learned about America is from movies. And I'll be honest, not a lot of movies that I genuinely were like, you know what, South Dakota, I've got a choice for you. It was very much like get into the googly. That's a way of saying Google. But once I got into it, there is one movie that Mrs. loves. I very much enjoyed. Neither of you guys had seen it, and it features legendary Val Kilmer. Is the movie Thunderheart was my choice, and
I've never even heard of this movie.
Yeah, same.
I was reading it. So it's directed by Michael Apted. He's like a British director. He's very much into the kind of documentary sort of vibe as well. And I watched this movie, and I will be honest that part of me was like a little worried about how you guys were going to take it. And then you both were like, this movie's legit.
Yeah. Conversely, the movie I picked, I was like, I don't give a shit what you fuckers think. Also, I'd like to just say that I like that you say that, like, everything you in your past, like everything you learned, like growing up, about America was learned through movies, and I really hope that you still carry that through today. That all these movies we watch
100%. Like I said,
was
every
the
time I
only
go to
thing you know
Arizona,
about America.
reef.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, no joke. Like I said, I remember Mrs. introducing me to this movie nearly like this is like 17 plus years ago. I remember watching it in Singapore. I remember liking it. I remember watching it because of Val Kilmer. And I remember like going, oh man, this movie is like whatever I expected this movie to be. You got Graham Greene.
It was great.
So much. But you guys genuinely jumped on board this one, and I was like, I think it was
Finally.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like True Detective was something you guys threw out there.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a vibe, right?
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Everything, like the shots were similar, the tone. The only thing it didn't have was that kind. I guess it did have that like cosmic-y kind of thing to it, but I really, really, really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, same.
I was upset I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, I was I will say there was a part at the very beginning where I was like bracing myself to kind of roll my eyes when I was like, oh, it's Val Kilmer and he's like the Native American. I was like, oh, but then that's the plot of the movie. That's actually like a big thing about it. And I was like, oh, okay, this movie knows what it's doing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I'm with you on that because even on the rewatch, I was like, wait a minute, all right, am I supposed to be bothered about that? But you're right. So Thunderheart, if you don't know, 1992 sort of neo-western. It's directed by Michael Apted. So Michael Apted is a very famous documentarian from the UK that has this documentary series that is called 7 Up, that became 14 Up, that became 21 Up. Essentially what he did was...
yeah.
That guy, yes.
I've seen that. Okay.
So he's a guy, he came up with this documentary that from the birth of these children, he has followed their lives since their birth. And every 7 years, he returns to these people's lives to see what they are doing. So it became 17 up, 14 up, 21 up, 28 up, and so on. And it has been going on for decades. And it's just this interesting social experiment of where people go. So he also has delved into the movie realm, and when he does it from a very, very real vibe, which is why I feel like Thunderheart is one of those, like, that's what I mean, is that you guys jumped in going, oh, here we go, Val Kilmer being a bit, and by the end of it, you both were like, this movie was good. Like,
I still think, I think I said on the text thread too, as we often do, is there's no way they would have cast, like, it's unfortunate they in the 90s, there's no way they would have cast like a Native American actor to portray this role. So they got Val Kilmer, and he's like part Cherokee, I think, right? Like I think he's like,
as far as they argue it in the movie.
No, in real life. I mean, like he is.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like on his father's side or something.
Yeah.
So that, yeah.
You kind of forget about that throughout the. I mean, it didn't bother me. Like at first, I was like, "Come on."
But kind of like Will says, that's actually kind of the conceit of the movie. Is the FBI is bringing this, like, very, very white presenting guy to, well, you've got X percentage of natives, so now you're our government representative of this situation that's happening.
It kind of had notes of like Wind River a little bit, like Jeremy Renner's character, kind of like it had that. It feels like if you're a Taylor Sheridan fan of like his films, like this kind of fits right into that pocket really well. And it was shot by
100%.
fucking Roger Deakins too, man.
It's Roger. I
Harry
remember
the
texting you guys
Wow.
Deakins movie.
Yeah, like, wild.
And that's kind of like,
So
because
good.
you're right. It's very much Wind River, and it's got very much
Hell or High
what we do
Water,
for
maybe?
Oklahoma. The Leonardo DiCaprio movie we just did, Scorsese's movie that was 45 hours.
Oh yeah.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Thank you.
I almost said Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Which
Racist
rumor
dog?
has it there is a 4K disc of that somewhere. I don't know who has one,
I thought
but
you were going to say there's a sequel coming out.
yes,
This way, the pop-up novel is also in Will's.
Yeah, let me get the comic book.
I thought you were coloring book.
But like,
No.
But legit, like, I was so happy you guys like landed on this movie, and you saw it for what it was, because for me it was a surprise as well. But there were more surprises to this week. The interesting part being that the pair of you, so I went Thunderheart, you guys brought 2 movies to the table and you just divided them up. By the way, could not be. It's north and south. It's up and down. They're the exact opposite kind of movie. One of which is
Both just as funny as each other, though.
one of which is Terrence Malick's first movie, and the other one is Pauly Shore's second movie. So who wants to take ownership of which movie? Because I have forgotten who chose what.
I will not take son-in-law. I will not accept
Okay.
responsibility for
I
that.
will wear it with a badge of honor, and I know our audience will come to my defense, much like they did for Ernest, you fucking monsters.
Oh, man.
So I'll tell you what, very quickly. So Will, tell us about Terrence Malick's movie. This was an interesting movie because it changed a big 90s movie for me. What movie did you bring to the table?
So the movie I brought was Badlands, starring it was Sissy Spacek
Yep.
and Martin Sheen.
Mhm.
Yeah, Terrence Malick's first movie. And if you've ever wondered what it would be like if a movie kind of like started telling you a story and then by the end was like, oh, I guess I'm done telling the story. I guess this is it.
Mhm.
There's Badlands. That's,
Yeah.
you get to 90 minutes and the movie's like, okay, we're done. Bye. Like,
He's a fascinating
okay.
director, and I love the look and feel of his films, but it's a very specific taste, like
yeah.
So you got very young Martin Sheen, very young
Wild.
Sissy Spacek, and if you get into it and look into it, both of them are like Martin Sheen says it's the best script he ever read,
Mhm.
and Sissy Spacek said it changed the way she did everything. She goes, I understand what an artist is. Like, because for anybody and for everyone, we're movie lovers as well. But excuse me, I've got a Terrence Malick in my throat. There we go. Is that Terrence Malick is Terrence Malick. There's no other director like him. He throws a movie out and he goes, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut away to a sunset and a bird flying and like the sound of wind and all this other sort of stuff. But it's like, but to hear Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek at the very beginning of their career, still when they're at the end of their career, talk about this movie going, it changed my life. I'm like, okay, but, I texted you guys something very specific as I was watching the movie. And then I looked into it and it got crazy. So did you guys pick up on the same thing that I threw out?
Oh yeah, for sure. The Tony Scott True Romance connection. For sure.
Romance.
Oh, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, okay, I have not seen True Romance.
Get out, Will.
It's a blind spot, but give me a second.
He's got the novelization of it.
I am for my favorite video store. I have rented it this week.
Nice.
I am checking it out. So
very good.
Well, you're about to watch a movie and go, wait a minute, isn't that the exact same theme?
I just watched this. Yeah.
Isn't that the exact same voiceover? Wait a minute. Isn't that the exact same car? Wait a minute. Isn't that the
same song, the opening song from that movie. That's what I mean. Too,
Hans Zimmer took the theme. They took the car, they took the plot, they took the voiceover. Then I'm like, that's why I love this podcast. We just watched Terrence Malick's first movie, and I go, wait a minute. Quentin Tarantino and Tony Scott completely ripped it off and made a modern version of it. And that is True Romance. And I'm like, what? What? Yeah. How did I not know this happened? Where did this come from? And Will, why have you not watched True Romance?
I think it's because I am not the biggest like Tarantino fan, and so I don't make it a priority to watch everything he's been involved with. It's just one of those things. It's just kind of slipped through like my periphery. But like I said, I'm going to correct
movie,
it.
Man, you gotta watch
That's true. But Tony Scott made Domino too, so he doesn't always make bangers.
I like that movie. I like Domino.
So, but I'm gonna rectify that this week, and I'm gonna check it out.
Oh my goodness, there's Dennis Hopper. There's oh my god,
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman in one
as a
of
young
the
man,
most unrecognizable character like acting moments in this.
Have you ever seen the show Barry?
Yes.
So the monologue in the first episode that the guy he's sent to kill does the monologue from True Romance, and it's so bad. It's so bad. It's great.
Well, that would be great to check that out and then watch the first episode of Barry again.
Definitely.
So,
What's fascinating to me, Will, is that you are going to watch True Romance now after watching Badlands.
mhm.
You're going to have an experience that none of us, our generation, has had.
Right.
Like,
True.
you're genuinely like, oh man, this is crazy. They've totally
Except for me, who grew up watching sequels before the original.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, speaking of sequels, Ryan, you picked a movie that no one's ever going to make a sequel of, and honestly, they never should have made the movie in the first place. Can you please desecrate this podcast by mentioning the movie that you brought to the table this week?
I would be honored. I picked a movie. So growing up like as a kid of the 90s, I can't stress just how big of a run Pauly Shore had. Like I'll even start with
Not
Class
wrong.
Act, where he was like, he had a cameo. He was a very small side character. If you ever get a chance, see the movie Kid and Plays Class Act. It's fucking amazing. I love it. Once I find out what state it's
Love
in,
Class
I'm
Act.
picking it. It's great. But he basically plays the same character that they're like, oh, let's put him in Encino Man. And then they made a bunch of other things. I think I don't remember the order. It was Encino Man, and then this
In
was
the
it this
Army Now.
I think that was after this with Andy
But it's
Dick.
like,
But it was anyway, it was Encino Man, it
this
was In the Army Now,
movie-
Son-in-Law and Jury Duty.
Son-in-Law, I believe, is right after Encino Man, which is why
Yeah,
we get
for
that
sure.
great cameo.
Right, yeah. I mean, come on. You get the whale himself. You get the Encino Man. No, I picked Jury Duty because a movie I watched all the time when I probably saw it in the fucking movie theater. Now that I think.
No, I wish you picked Jury Duty.
No, you didn't
Instead,
pick
you
Oh,
picked
sorry.
Son-in-Law.
I picked Son. I'm sorry. I picked Son-in-Law, a movie that was on all the time. A movie that still continues my fixation with Carla Gugino. If you're listening to this, you're amazing. And it's got Tiffany Amber Thiessen. It's got the chubby kid from The Sandlot, who's great. It's got what's his name, Len, the villain. Yeah, the villain coach from the Mighty Ducks.
From Everything.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's got the one character I wish they could have gotten was Burgess Meredith as his dad in this movie.
Well, that would have been funny, and
Yeah.
this movie's having none of that.
So you had
Oh.
Lane Smith as a dad. You had Cindy Pickett, so the mum from
Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller, yeah.
you
Yeah.
as the mum. It was such it's
Stacked
so
cast.
hard to really like explain. So like me as Zenial, like Ryan, you know, he's a little younger than me, but it's like there was this period where Pauly Shore to 11, 10, 12, 9-year-olds was the
Yeah.
funniest guy.
Well, I thought that I
Sure.
mean, and you can't discredit his like comedy history. I mean, I'm not trying
Watch
to
Give me
but I got a soft spot for this movie. I think he's great in it, and I adore this film. I think it's still there. Parts of it still made me laugh. Parts of it are very cringy. The whole date rape thing is very problematic.
This is, you know, like genuinely, like Ryan, seriously, I love you, buddy, and I love your movie ideas. But if you defending this movie is, I'm like, you're dead to me. it was awful.
What?
This movie was terrible.
That's because you two are inbreeders.
Always a funny joke.
But yeah,
Inbreeding.
it was just, he was like latched onto this character and they're like, let's build a movie around it. And I'm sure it was probably started as something else. And they're like, I'm sure there was another script and like, hey, Disney, I think, signed him for like a couple picture deal. And they're like, well, we got to make Son-in-Law. And they did. And they're like, fuck, how do we get out of this deal?
Can we add just one joke in there? No, we are making a serious drama about the weirdest guy ever.
I'm
going
sorry,
home with
guys
this gal.
are allergic to fun.
It's like, okay, have you ever like listened to a kid try to tell you what they think is a funny story, and they're just going on and on and on,
Brilliant.
and you're just like,
Yeah.
I just want this
Every
to end.
fucking week.
This is the movie.
Tell me more about
Man,
Star
he
Wars
burned
and
you,
Godzilla.
Ollie.
No, you don't understand. Godzilla, he's a hero.
He's very complex, guys.
No, it's cool. The spaceships, they're like
Okay.
submarines.
But it's a fair cop on that particular cat. Right, well done. But also at the same time, Will is completely right. like this movie is
As usual.
I except for Twister.
True.
Is that I watched this movie and I'm right on board, Ryan. Like for me, I didn't actually discover Carla Gugino until like it was Sin City. And
Right,
like, and
of
she's
course.
just like, Robert Rodriguez. Yes, right, okay, she's fantastic and she's stunning and she's beautiful, she's fantastic, and has all this presence. And in this movie, I mean, she's like a baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like you were saying, everyone starts turning up in this movie. All these faces that you recognize, be it like Lane Smith and Cindy Pickett, and like you were saying, that the little ginger kid from the baseball.
Patrick Brenna, I think.
Yeah, Patrick Renner.
Patrick Renner. Excuse me.
And
Tiffany Amber Thiessen. I mean,
Yeah.
Tiffany Amber
exactly.
Thinkman.
For teenage boys,
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
man.
this movie had it all. Like it ticked all the boxes for me at that age watching this. Like I thought it was funny. And then I was like, oh my God, this is what college is. And then I got there and I'm like, yeah, it is.
The bit that like doesn't quite compute for me
Hmm.
is that Pauly Shore, he's not acting in different movies. They're taking the weasel
Right.
and transferring the weasel into
Yeah.
all these movies.
It's
So
not, yeah, exactly.
it's a little bit like Ernest, right? It's like it's
because even in Class Act, it's the same thing. He's
it's
that character.
100% the same character, the same approach, the same.
I mean, you get it. I mean, once you hit like In the Army Now and Jury Duty, it becomes a little bit different. It's not like the wheezing the Jew, like it's not that, I guess, atypical Venice stoner for that time. I don't know. But I mean, that it was so immensely popular in that like that younger MTV generation that they were just like, let's fucking build an entire movie around this character.
But you see that happening. So for me, I was introduced to the weasel in the movie California Man. I've told you like this before because Encino means nothing to anyone outside of LA. So in the rest of the world,
not even California Caveman, like just California Man.
Yeah, so it's called California Man in the rest of the world. So then I genuinely was like, yay, when out of nowhere, Brendan Fraser turns up. Yeah. Oscar winner Brendan Fraser is in this.
I love that. I mean, that scene is so bizarre. And I honestly, for as often as I've seen this movie, I forget about it. And it's just like a very cute tongue-in-cheek reference for that time, because this must have come out like right after that, so people were like, oh yeah, and they have that. He's like, and again, he's dressed like the Chiquita Banana Woman, I think. It's the Halloween party. Yeah, so hot. And yeah, and not at all problematic. The South American, the Latin American influence that he's doing, flawless. But I love that interaction. It's like they look at each other and he pulls a frog off of his head and eats it. And then Pauly Shore's like looking at him like,
it's the exact same look that you get.
Oh, we're forgetting about Biodome too, another fucking huge one.
Oh, huge. But it's like,
I would like to forget about Biodome. Yes.
What is
See,
that?
guys?
What is the movie? It's the Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster remake. It's a Western with James Garner.
Maverick,
yeah.
And he has
another one I love.
That moment with his buddy from
Danny Glover, right?
Danny Glover shows up.
And they have that whole they have that look and they go like they recognize each other and they
it's the Hot Shots
same thing.
It's the Hot Shots Part 2 thing. Yeah, it's like that kind of look.
Yeah. I loved you in Wall Street.
I loved you in Badlands.
Yeah.
But it's like so you had that moment, but that's the thing that I haven't quite figured out is that we, as a society and studios, as apparently
no more of this.
No, they said more of this. They said,
after
it's
that,
not just let's take Pauly Shore. It's let's take that character,
and
put him in this movie, and put him in this movie, and put him in this movie, and like by the end, and like there's nothing to spoil in this movie, but by the end. You've got Lane Smith going wheezing the juice.
Yeah,
it's like
it's infectious, man. He brings this family together, man. Like he solves all of their problems. He makes the dad and the mom do sex. He makes the old man. He does the mouth to mouth. He does the mouth to mouth with him in the fishing scene. He gets the large man on the farm fired? For who just exists on this farm.
He sends he
Right.
signs
He becomes a farmer. It's fucking great,
he
man.
signs his signature in the farm and costs
Yeah.
them like thousands of dollars, but no one's bothered
Yeah.
by it. So
Great.
so the plot is, and I use the word plot loosely, is that Carla Gugino from South Dakota goes to college in California, and she is sheltered, she is country, she is virginal, she has a boyfriend, that they do not have the sex. That's an important part. She goes to college, and the RA, right? I believe this is
resident advisor.
there you go. Is Paulie Shaw, who is a complete psychopath, who has been at school for 8 years, and she goes, you know what? I'm gonna define my entire personality off this guy. She gets tattoos. She's on Venice Beach.
And
She changed her entire
it's worth
thing.
pointing out that their relationship isn't sexual in any
Not at all.
way. They're just like friends, and he's just like a LA fucking hobo.
And she's
And
like, you know what?
He gets
You
her out of her
will be-
shell.
Honestly, I'm amazed we didn't do this movie for the greatest Thanksgiving movie of all time.
Oh shit,
Man,
God!
we
I mean,
picked good movies. What's wrong with us?
it's basically the same plot as Home for the Holidays and what's the Sarah Jessica Parker one we watched, except they all love
The
him.
Family Stone.
Yeah,
Family Stone.
but
yeah.
it's worth pointing out he's been in college for
6
I think
years.
he says 6 years,
Yeah.
and he the litany of things he studies. It's like karate. He's also a computer hacker. His mom was a cocktail server in Vegas. I mean, he's a jack of all trades.
It's got that classic 90s 80s trope of hacking, which is like he sits down at that
He's
ginger
just
kid's
mashing the keyboard and just and you see the code and it's just nonsense.
and it just goes blah, blah,
Right.
blah. It's like it looks like the alphabet from the rebellion in Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just nonsense, gibberish.
He's just
yeah.
all right, cool. There you go. And he goes, I cleaned out your this, that, and the other. I defragged your blood. He's just
Yeah.
throwing bullshit.
Rattling
Like,
computer jargon. Yeah.
the thing is, I'm annoyed because Paulie Shore, like, I was still kind of enjoying the bullshit. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's nonsense. You have to. That's the thing is, it's very much a product of its time. Like, and
It
even
is a
back then,
stamp.
people
There's
didn't
literally
like
a
it.
stamp on it going 1990s. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
But
Authentic
I-
1993 product.
But basically, he I'll tail him. I'll take over the plot from here since I know you don't want to fucking talk about it. But she is going home for Thanksgiving. Finds out he has nowhere to go. He's going to eat a hungry man dinner. Proceeds to sing the song from the commercial, if anyone's old enough to remember. Then she decides, she's like, I'm going to bring you home. You'll have Thanksgiving dinner with my family. She gets home, she reconnects with, and she's wearing the Debbie Mazur's wig from Empire Records, the most
Yeah.
insane color. It's wild. She finds out that her long distance boyfriend is going to propose to her. She freaks out, and then in a moment of weakness, she kicks him at a dinner, and he's like, "Oh no, we're you can't marry her. We're already engaged." Which is the most insane thing. It's wild. I
Well,
mean,
the thing is, in honesty, I can't believe I'm about to like explain more the plot of this movie, but
go on.
technically, she knew that he was going to propose. That's
Yeah.
why she brought Paul
Right.
with her.
Oh,
You know, so he was kind of like the bulletproof vest to this like inevitable proposal that was coming from just the most prototypical like jock character.
yeah.
Which
Who looks
then-
like Jason Ritter.
yeah. But
Yes.
then, as Ryan alluded to, is that the big moment of this movie is a date rape drugging.
Well, yes.
It's the 90s.
I wouldn't call
hey.
it the climax because you don't see it. But yeah, I mean, well, you're getting ahead. But in between that, obviously he starts becoming intertwined in this family. He connects with the son. He connects with the dad. He connects with the mom by making her beautiful, and she's already stunning. And yeah, he becomes a farmer, and all this is over the span of 2 days. I think,
Yeah, so we
right?
get like so we get
week?
the first act is we're in California and she is the fish out of water. And then she's like, oh, come back to South Dakota. We're doing Thanksgiving. And then we get the next hour of the movie, Act 2 and 3, is him there. And it's just like...
But he's not a dick about it either. He's like...
It's not that he's a dick about it. He's just being Pauly Shore.
Right.
But the whole thing of the movie is that everyone is like, you know what makes your life better? Being like Pauly Shore. So he goes to a line dancing party, a hoedown, a hootenanny, however you'd like to describe it. But suddenly he jumps on the microphone and you've got 75-year-olds twerking on each other.
And the guy stage dives into nothing and collapses. Basically, everyone in South Dakota in this movie is Will's face right now.
Yep.
Just a scowl.
Everything you're describing sounds like it should be a funny, entertaining movie. But Pauly Shore doesn't act like a human at any point in time. Like everything he's doing is the most bizarre thing you could possibly do at any moment. And the entire time you're just like, what? It's not like Ace Ventura, which when we were watching that, we hit on like he's messing with people. Like he's actually a good detective. He knows what he's doing, but he's messing with people because it's funny. Pauly Shore is not doing. He's just literally a Pauly Shore character, and like, what if I was on a farm? And it's like, okay, well, what if you were? Like, who cares? You
His character name is Fred Weasel. Like,
wait, no.
His character name is Crawl.
Crawl is his nickname.
You get his real name in that movie?
Fred Weasel is his real name, nickname Crawl, because that's how he gets back to his his dorm room. And it's like, you know, thank you for bringing that, Will. But it's like, you're right, because right around the same time, 93, 94, and we get Ace Ventura, and then it's like a character, and it's the defining character, but a successful character. The guy's he's smart. Whereas the Weez, and the thing is, look, no joke, Encino Man, California Man, whatever we want to call it, love that movie, and I think the Weez is a great character.
Because he's a side character. He's not
exactly.
Like, there's you don't overdo it.
Yeah. I'm going to teach you California. He's the worst / best version of teaching.
It's the definition of too much of a bad thing.
Right. You're right. Like, you know, if you did the female version, it would be a Valley Girl. You know what I mean? It's just you've got the Weez, but I just you know every now and
even the bit when she goes to get just funny you say that she goes to get the tattoo and starring Flea, great cameo. Yeah. She's like I want something like dainty and feminine. She's like he's right here.
You're right. The other thing about this movie that blew me away is the movie's called is the cinematography. No, is
also shot by Roger Deakins.
But this movie is called Son-in-Law, and that plot point, the inciting incident, doesn't happen for 40 minutes into the movie, where it's finally like, why is this movie called Son-in-Law? Like, oh, I proposed to her first, and I'm like, this movie missed the easier joke, which is we sent our daughter off to college, and then cut to a little bit of time later, she comes back looking the way she does with Pauly Shore, and you just cut out that whole college part. Because that would be the funnier part is she comes back like she does, and you're like, what?
But I think you need to see her struggles with like not fitting in there, and you know she's got the roommates that are partying, and she's homesick. And
do you need to?
I think so.
Did we see the struggles, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get her changing she changes her clothes, she changes her hair, she gets a tattoo. She's got binoculars staring at tits on the beach. What more do you fuckers want?
No shit. And I honestly question the decision-making paradigm of Carla Gugino's character is that she is a fish out of water and she latches on to Pauly Shore, a guy hanging from a ceiling.
The only person,
a guy dressed up, like you said, like the banana, this, that, and the other. And within 5 minutes, she's on a beach in Venice looking at tits or male tits. She's getting a tattoo.
Scones, they're called.
Scones. She's changing her outfit, and then she comes back to South Dakota with him. I'm just like, she's just a troubled young lady.
And I know what you're thinking. You know, you're watching this unfold, and you're like, man, I really hope there's like a scene where he has to get clothes from a local clothing store and you get to see his bare ass, because bingo, you fucking do. But then you get that really hot scene with Tiffany Amber Thiessen looking at his butt. She's like,
that's the thing. So then you've got Carla Gugino and Tiffany Amber Thiessen, and they're both like, "Oh, nice." I mean, like,
Yeah.
you know what I like? That guy's ass.
He
in
was a
House of
sex
Sex.
symbol, man.
This
But
movie,
I also they posit in this movie that the guy that's proposing to her current boyfriend, is also hooking up with Tiffany Amber Thiessen, right? Her character, like
yes,
they have something going on.
and then
It's like
that
it's
was the
implied.
considering what a light-hearted movie
Yeah.
it
Who's
was.
the only other woman in this town?
The
Apparently.
the subplot was that he was casually fucking Tiffany
Right.
from Saved by the Bell, and then so as to orchestrate a way to marry Carla Gugino, he slips her and him the date rape
Oh
drop
yeah.
and forces them into a potential just date
Yeah.
rape situation, and that being a plot point, I'm like,
It's funny because it's not. I mean,
oh,
it's not funny, but the whole thing is like, yeah. Now the families at this point in the film, the family's like kind of getting to know him better. They've kind of embraced him in, and the other guy and the farmhand decide to throw him a bachelor party where they fucking drug him chugging a beer. Then they get Tiffany Amber Thiessen to come in to do a lap dance. They drug her with a beer, and their whole thing is to like make it look like they hooked up. And then Carla Gugino's character finds them in the barn, and she's like so upset. But I'm like, but they're not like romantically involved. So it's one thing to find them, but it's like she gets so upset, like, how dare you do this and break my heart? But like they really
there,
weren't romantically
there's
viable.
many more things to be like just questioned about. Like, for example, Paulie Shaw walks into the mother,
Mm-hmm.
the matriarch of this family, in a towel, fresh out of the shower, and he's like, "Honey, we're gonna make you more fuckable," and she's like, "You know what? Yes, we do." And
Okay.
he helps her get more fuckable so she can go and get. Like, I just,
Yeah. Well,
I,
the wardrobe and outfit and hair and makeup that he puts her in is wild.
it's just
It's
the
just,
thing for me that just like it just doesn't connect. Like you're watching it from the outside. By the end of the movie, is as long as you were more like Paulie Shaw, life's gonna be better.
I think
You're gonna
it's
be a
more like you
better
need to.
husband, a better wife, a better farmer, a better daughter if you just wheeze the juice. And
I
I'm like,
think, yeah,
I
man.
don't get it.
I think everyone needs to wheeze a bit of the juice. I think the world would be a juicier place.
Okay, look, I have
The
to do this because both of us have been talking and staring at Will's face. Will, I just want to give you 5 minutes to just run about this movie. Can you just,
Oh yeah, sorry.
Will, you talk
uh,
about this movie?
One good thing.
one good thing,
One good
Tiffany
thing
Amber
and five
Thiessen is
bad things.
yeah, Tiffany Amber Thiessen's hot in it.
She is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
There you go.
and then what do? They cut the striptease short.
Yeah, so
Already
send this
striking
movie to
against
hell. Yeah. This is um yeah, this movie wants us to believe that Pauly Shore's character is like Paddington, where like just he interacts with everyone and everything magically improves. And he is the most off-putting, like annoying character he could possibly be. Um there's just not really much to say about this movie. Although the big redhead kid, I even texted you guys. I'm like, "Oh, I had those same, Justice League and, Marvel posters on my wall. That's interesting." Um, but yeah, this was just like honestly, there's a lot of this movie that I'm struggling to remember because I was just bored through so
I
much of it.
was honestly, Will, I'm like you. So for me, it's the how much am I on my phone quotient. And
Yeah.
like for this one, I'm like looking at my phone, looking at this movie, looking at my phone, looking at this movie. The thing that's gonna blow everyone away is that it's an $8 million movie that made $36 million.
Let's fucking go. Again, he was so popular. Like he was popular at the time, and they're like, let's just put him in a film. Like I know, and you have I'm sure you both have a staunch hatred for him in general, and
Not a hatred. I'm just saying that he's a
No,
product of his time.
right. So that's what I'm saying. Like had you seen Encino Man or Biodome, like these movies are just on all the time for
I
me.
saw
And
both of those movies and I loved them as a teenage, like not even teenage, as a
yeah.
preteen boy.
But we talked about
California
our
Man.
shared love Oh my God, what's her name from Biodome?
Yeah, exactly. The not
Kylie
Lisa
Minogue.
thing. Yeah.
Kylie
Oh.
Minogue.
Oh, Kylie Minogue. Oh no,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
yeah. Oh my
No,
God,
yeah.
Kylie Minogue.
We'll offline this conversation.
Yeah.
Go back to that text thread that we have.
Yeah.
But like they
Yeah.
just they I can't believe in retrospect that like the movie industry was like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
This
He
character.
pops, man. He pops.
Yeah, in like one movie. It's not like Jim.
Yeah.
The thing is, Jim Carrey, he turns up like we talked about in was it 1994 where Jim Carrey turns up and has the 3 biggest movies of the year and goes from 0 to 100. He's not playing the same character in every movie.
Right.
Yeah.
He's playing 3 distinct different characters and nailing it.
It's a bizarre phenomenon that people wanted more Weasel. I don't
But even now
understand
today,
it.
if you watch him do stand up, I 100% guarantee the guy comes out and goes, "Hey, you want to wheeze the juice?" It's like
He does stand up.
it's just looking back
It's just a
on it
product of its time.
now.
I can't defend the movie. I'm not saying it's good. I have a soft spot in my heart for it because
Wait. One, you are defending the movie and you 100% chose this movie. Don't you back this shit up. You chose
You
this
take
movie.
responsibility for
Yeah,
this.
you 100%.
ladies and gentlemen, Pauly Shore. What's that? We're out of juice. Oh, shit.
Oh man.
So don't even think about it. The
Yeah.
thing is, like I said,
Well, what are you wheezing?
I loved the wheezing of the juice. I genuinely
Sure.
did when I was a
It's
teenager.
infectious.
But like at this point already, it's one movie too much, and
Yeah,
it went on
yeah.
for like 3, 4 more movies,
Yeah.
which is wild to me. I love the fact that we've barely like really honestly talked about the plot. But the thing is,
I was trying.
There's not really
No,
much to talk about.
no.
like you
it's-
will.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just
He
I've never seen a
saves
movie
this
with so
broken
little in it.
family.
And then wait a
They
minute,
didn't even
and
they
then it
didn't
just
seem
goes
broken.
to credits. You guys got a
Yeah.
fucking like you got your favorite thing, which is the dodgeball credits of like just like nothing. Like suddenly, hey, we good? We good? We good?
Yeah. You got the dad's playing the Game Boy, and I think he fixed this family, man.
It was the moment when Lane Smith was trying to do the whole wheezing the juice thing.
Yeah, that was not great.
Yeah, cool. That
I'll submit that one.
was
It
2
was
seconds before
very,
the
very cringy, very cringy. But yeah,
But
it's
like
fun. It's
even
fun
the
times.
South Dakota of it, it felt like I was in Iowa. It felt like I was in like
Yeah, it's just on basically just set on a farm in a house. You know.
Right.
but, and I love that this has become a thing in the podcast. It is the best movie for shots of a South Dakota license plate. We got lots of that South Dakota license plates in this movie, while at the same time as it honestly not looking like anything South Dakota. Not that I've been to South Dakota, but I tell you what, one of these movies definitely was neck deep in South Dakota. So by the end of it, I was like, all right, this was kind of weird. I'm honestly, like Ryan, honestly.
It's just a simple weasel out of juice story. I don't know what the problem is.
Oh man.
Like, so look, like, I think Will and I are on the same page about this one. Of like, this movie was fucking awful. It was bad. It was bad.
Really
and
bad.
look at Ryan, you're still defending this movie. You're like, no.
Listen, it's not earnest quality, but I enjoy this film. Like I said, I grew up watching it. It was on all the time, and I thought it was great when I was a kid, and I fucking still enjoy it.
No. Oh.
I had fun watching. I weirdly knew it by heart too, which is troubling.
Oh, that is upsetting. That's man. That's more upsetting than the subject matter of Thunderheart. Like that's how upsetting that is.
Well, I'll tell you what, perfect time. I genuinely don't even want to talk about this movie anymore. Let's jump into Thunderheart. Let's jump into Thunderheart, which was, for me, I remember watching literally easily, like I said, 15 years ago, and being quite surprised about it. And it just not being whatever the movie that I thought it was going to be. And like Graham Greene turns up, but then just the more you watch it, you're just getting all this production value. So instinctually, I want to ask you guys, both of you, when you heard of the movie and you heard Val Kilmer, what was your reaction? And when you finished the movie, how different was it to what you thought
I
it was going to be?
I didn't really look up a lot going into it, and this is one I watched. I had my phone like far away from me. Like I took this down and really because I enjoyed it from the second it opened. And once I think Will had said he's like it's got like it's what the fourth season of True Detective should have been. I was like, oh
Right.
fuck yeah. And
Yeah.
5 minutes in, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in. Yeah, for sure. And I was worried, like I said, that having Val Kilmer portray this like he's got Native American blood, and the FBI is using him to kind of infiltrate this thing that's going on. I mean, the movie opens with this like very what I love about this movie, that no one hesitates to fire a gun immediately. There
Right.
is so much violence in this film. It's crazy. Like everything, every cop, like every arrest, it's just immediate gunfire. It's
Yeah.
pretty current.
Every person is firing a gun at nearly every moment.
I mean, shotguns at cars, and it's a fucking violent film.
Every
Squints.
animal in this movie is trying to kill and like maim people. It's constant.
Yeah. Yeah.
South Dakota seems dangerous, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
And this is based off,
Man.
I think this is based off a true story, correct?
Well, it's loosely
Loose,
based
right?
off, yeah, you know, like an incident in '73.
So was Son-in-Law.
Yeah. But like, you know, but this was a movie that the more I was watching it, the more I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as soon as you saw Deacon's name turn up, you know, Michael Apted, like we talked about, very much sort of documentarian. So they went neck deep. And that's kind of why I brought up the whole Killers of the Flower Moon thing, which is when it comes to Scorsese, he definitely went to the people. He went to the native people of the area. And he's like, no, we're going to make this real. Is that Thunderheart really gets into when you get into South Dakota, when you get, much like we said with Wind River, is you're just seeing the poverty. You're seeing the fact that it's just outrageous. The fact that these people have been fucked over by the American government. It doesn't shy away from it, and it completely leans into it, because now you've got our protagonist as an FBI agent, a federal agent impeding on their land, and they're using him as a quasi sort of like middleman. And it doesn't shy away from the shame, is kind of what I mean. It's like, you know, let us be honest, you know, like I said, you know, I'm not American. I come to America. I love America. I learned a lot about America from movies, but this movie is like, hey, we stole this country from these people, and do you want to see how we fucked them over? Cool. Now we're gonna fuck them over some more, and that's what this movie is.
Yeah.
And I thought it's like, but it's dressed up in a whodunit.
And just when you think it's going to get better, it gets so much worse.
Yeah.
It's you're not wrong. The subject matter in this film, not only is the film graphic, but the subject matter itself is really graphic, and it's portrayed in a very realistic way. Like it's hard to, it's a tough watch, you know,
well,
given that.
Yes and no, because I would say, because it's shot by Deakins, much like No Country for Old Men, right? But it's like No Country for Old Men, but a '90s movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's almost like Tony Scott got a
even No Country for Old Men kind of feels like a '90s movie too.
Right.
You know, it's like
But
very simple.
But you know what I mean? Is like it's not True Detective, and it's not No Country for Old Men. It's got that element to it, but it's also got that element of sudden action, and there's those moments.
That's when it clicked. I was like, oh yeah, this is a '90s movie where the production, like, we need more gunfire. It's not a slow burn. It's weirdly action packed, because it doesn't need to be. I mean, they're like every other scene it's like dialogue, exposition, action sequence where they're running and shooting and jumping over cars, or a car chase, or it's another shootout. There's so many fucking shootouts in this movie. It's wild.
Yeah. I think every location has a shootout in it, pretty much. I was just trying to think, like,
of course, you're just waiting for the guns to come out.
Yeah, I'm like, was there a scene where, or is there a place that wasn't get shot? I'm like, the diner. Wait, no, there was a gunfire in the diner too.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I think
the-
literally
there-
everything gets a shootout.
There's a shot. They arrest a guy in the beginning who their main suspect, and they're bringing him to his house. And he's like, "Let us in." He's like, "We can go get a warrant if we need to." He's like, "No, I'll get the key. It's underneath the thing." And then the surprise honey badger attack was wild.
And
Then
Yeah.
the guy gets away,
badger
jumps
ambush.
over. He jumps over a car and looks like he had his hands behind his back and like jumped
He
through
does,
the handcuffs.
yes.
Crazy.
Legit,
guy jumps
one of
12
my
feet in the air.
favorite shots of the
Awesome.
movie. That guy was like a fucking.
It's almost like the scene in like Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz where he's jumping over
Yeah.
the fence. It's crazy. But it's fucking awesome. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm so used to seeing, I had that True Detective vision in my mind, but it's very much a 90s action movie, like a Rennie Harlan type of thing. It's
Right.
blood-soaked squibs, and it's
Yeah.
just it's wild.
Well, that is literally the first 2 minutes of the movie. Is we see a guy running in slow mo, and then we get scribbity scribs, and like you just see this guy's chest get blown out.
Yeah.
He ends up in the fucking like the river, and then we cut to FBI land, a la
Yeah.
like Point Break.
Is that the same guy they find? Because when they find his
Yes.
body later, it's like
It's been moved, but that's the
Oh, okay,
plot
okay.
point.
Yeah.
As in like
gotcha.
he wasn't here. He's
Yeah.
obviously been moved.
And then you get introduced to maybe the best character in the fucking movie.
Not maybe.
the-
If you're talking about Graham.
Fred Thompson.
Yeah.
Greene.
So fucking good. The relationship he has with Val Kilmer is fucking top
Well,
notch.
it's just Graham Greene coming off the back of Dances with Wolves. It's like the guy is
Also in Wind River.
he's a fucking legend.
Mhm.
The guy is
Yeah.
let's just be honest. Every time that guy turns up in a movie,
Yeah.
we're in a home run. And I'm talking about a
Mhm.
movie that's got Val Kilmer, Sam Shepard, Graham Greene, Fred Ward. Like it's
From Tremors. And Tremors
Mhm.
2.
But it's like it's. I will be honest. Watched the movie, finished it, and I go, oh.
It felt like I watched 10
worried
episodes
you
of
guys.
the series.
I was worried you guys were going to tear it
Yeah.
to pieces.
No, I thought it was great.
Genuinely,
No.
I was like, I got to
Yeah.
the end. I go, I don't think the guys are going to like this. I was like,
Yeah.
I think they're going to be like, what? The
And this is after you watch Son-in-Law?
yeah, he's like, son-in-law's
Oh,
here.
how is my movie ever going to live up to this? The pressure,
Right.
it's too immense.
But it's weird. Genuinely, I don't know why. I watched it. I was enjoying it, and I was like, I don't think the guys are going to like this. And then when both of you were watching it, and you jumped on the thread, and you were throwing all the stuff out, I was like, oh, thank God.
I kept thinking, like, while Val Kilmer in this movie is great, and I think he's a phenomenal actor, I kept thinking, like, who else could have been in this to maybe like elevate? Like, if a Keanu Reeves was in it, I think he
Yeah.
could fit that kind of vibe. Or like, I think they wanted like Tom Cruise. I was looking through the
lips would have been good.
yeah, for sure, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
But
I would have picked Bette Midler. Would have been my. That's.
I
I
mean,
think it was real.
the musical numbers alone.
I mean, come on.
But it's like as a movie, it's like it's more grown up than it seems because
Yeah.
I guess like what did you think it was going to be? I sold you a '90s movie, Thunderheart, Val Kilmer. You put that on the plate and you serve it. You think you know what you're getting, and it's not that movie, is it? It's a very different movie to what you're being sold at the time.
Yeah, I mean, what was Val Kilmer doing prior? Like, was this after Top? Was this after Top Gun?
This is
Definitely after-
1992. Yeah. Top Gun
Yeah.
was 80s, man. Like, Val Kilmer was already like, legit.
So this is probably
Was this after
Post-
Top Secret?
this is probably after Tombstone, before Ghost in the Darkness, kind of that era. Not after his best work.
Thunderheart's 92, right? So we had Top Secret 84, Real Genius 85, Top Gun 86, Willow 88.
What a
The Doors
run.
91.
Hell yeah.
Then we have Thunderheart in 92, and he goes on to have in 93 Tombstone, True Romance, a movie we're going to talk about more in the future. Then it's Batman Forever, Heat, Dr. Moreau, Ghost in the Darkness, The Saint, Prince of like the guy. Jesus,
Yeah.
Val Kilmer.
Peaked at Dr. Moreau, let me tell you.
I love The Saint, man. I love that movie. I had the soundtrack.
I do too. Yeah.
Six Underground,
like
man.
that.
That's stung.
Yeah,
That
great
song
soundtrack.
slaps.
Plus Elizabeth Shue, man. Come on.
Elizabeth Shue is still the most beautiful woman on earth.
Yeah.
But like, so yeah, you get Thunderheart, and you're expecting some '90s action movie, right?
I mean, honestly didn't know what to expect. You didn't pitch it as like a 90s action movie. You said the movie that you were gonna pick, and I was like, okay. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to sour it. Like I just wanted to kind of go in blind, and I was like, oh, this seems. I think maybe I read like the byline on it, and I saw that Val Kilmer was in it, and I was like, okay, I've never heard of this. I'm like, shit, all right, I'll check it out.
Another
Fucking
interesting
amazing.
overlap, like we had with Killers of the Flower Moon, though, is that it's also produced by Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I did
And
catch
which is
that.
like,
I'm surprised this isn't like a Steven Seagal movie.
Oh God, man, that's
You want to talk classic Native
moving
American
people's
inspired
wrists
actors?
in general.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
lie down. You lie down. Like I said,
my God. That would have
Just
been
call me Thunderheart. As he just rips someone's heart out.
I'm gonna take you to the bank, Senator. The blood bank.
Prison.
Yeah. My
Face
God,
of
just seeing
Thunder,
him
yeah.
trying to wheeze his way through this movie would have been just very entertaining.
Just gotta
Just
wheeze.
hang on.
Watching him doing any of the running scenes in this movie would have been so hilarious.
I love a Steven Seagal running classic.
Yeah.
So like, well, I'm like, let's say I give you, you are our resident, like, you can crown a movie. You have comments on movies. You got a lot of history. What were your thoughts going in, and what were your thoughts coming out on this one?
I really didn't look up anything about this movie. I went in pretty blind. I think the only thing I looked up was the runtime, just because I was really busy this week. So I'm like, all right, can I fit this in? I was like, yes, I can. Okay, good. And no, just watching it, I think my fear was it was going to be kind of more of a boring 90s movie. I didn't know it was
Easily
actually
could
gonna
have
have as
been.
much. Yeah, I didn't know it was going to have as much action as it did, actually. Like, as it was going on, and you get to things like the shootout after shootout, and then you get to like halfway through, and you're getting the shootout in that woman's home, where Granny is just like, okay, one of these,
Not again.
just
Yeah.
not phased at all,
Yeah.
and like
Little
kids are
amendment
getting shot.
grandson.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like, oh my
there's
God.
there's a bit right after that scene, which I almost spit my fucking drink out. They bring the boy is wounded. They bring him into they rush him. They get him into the doctor, and the kid is bleeding from a gunshot wound. The doctor looks at him and goes, "What's the problem? What seems to be the problem?" And it's like, "What do we got? What do we got here?"
And he's
Just like, oh, he's got a cold, doctor. Like,
we need
yeah,
a table.
just-
He's like, we've
yeah.
only got the one table. Just sit him
And
down.
I couldn't attribute it. It was one of two things. It was either like a very white doctor working on a very Native American boy, or just terrible acting.
Yeah,
Like,
or just the worst triage ever.
yeah, I was like, well,
Yeah.
he's smoking a cigarette. He's like, what's the fucking problem? What do we got here?
It's a hole. It just burns the hole close. Yeah, he's like, got it.
Don't waste my fucking time.
But Will, like, to get back to it, like,
Sorry.
where you started to where you, like, when you fin like it, honestly, the movie doesn't go to where you expect it to go, does it?
No.
The fact that we now get these moments and almost this kind of spiritual element of Val Kilmer connecting with his, I love that bit of
that was wild.
Wait a minute, you had a, if he's angry, you're like, you had a vision.
Their relationship is
bastard.
the best part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Graham Greene, honestly, put him in any fucking movie and I watch every
So
single
good.
thing
And they
that
didn't
guy
do the
does.
whole like vision kind of quest sequence like they did in, like, let's say Natural Born Killers or something like that,
Right.
They didn't lean too hard into that. I mean, he has visions, but they're just like dreams, and
everything's just right. Like, this is what made me think of True Detective for the comparison. Is it's just right on the edge of crossing over into full on like Mississippi. It does not go that far. And I'm like, that was the flavor of True Detective that I was picking up. Because I'm like, oh,
for sure,
it's going right up to it.
But like I said, Killers of the Flower Moon is that Michael Apted went to the Native American nation, much like Martin Scorsese did with the Osage Nation. Is like, it's so obvious when you watch the movie because the amount of access that they are given to show not only the poverty, but also, the beautiful sort of like, Badlands of it all, but then the nature of their historical places. And then the fact that, like, when it comes down to it, hashtag spoiler alert, but like, it's,
the water
couldn't
thing.
have predicted that white people are fucking over the natives.
Yeah.
The real sort of the whole underlying thing is that it's like that it's what is it,
A uranium mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Which I
you
think
know,
was part
it's
of that. That was part of that true story, right?
it's
Yeah.
exactly like fucking Killers of the Flower Moon is.
Yeah.
Like,
With oil.
we're sending you to a place with no worth, and then they find oil. And it's like, we're sending you to a place with no worth, and then they find uranium. And it's like, how can we fuck them out of this thing? How can we kill them? How can we ruin them? And that's why I almost feel that Thunderheart is kind of an underrated movie. Because it's ahead of its time. It's a 90s movie with Val Kilmer, with action, with Roger Deakins, telling an important story, no different from Killers of the Flower Moon, but it's just a movie that no one's heard of or is almost forgotten. And then you've got Killers of the Flower Moon that's 3 hours long and gets a bunch of Oscars.
There's so much going on in this film too. Like you get the plot where he meets the grandmother and then her granddaughter, who you think like, oh, they're gonna shoehorn this relationship into it, and then she's a student, she's testing the water and it tests positive for uranium, and she's fucking murdered off screen. You don't
and
see
then
that
we just find her face down in a
which
shallow grave.
which you don't like in a movie like that. You
So
don't really ever
heartbreaking.
see that. Yeah.
I
Fucking brutal.
forgot. Because even I was like 3/4 of the way through this movie going, oh yeah, that's the love
only
interest.
thing
No, she dead.
the only thing I was able to clock like from a mile away, I'm like, oh, his partner's a bad guy. It's obvious, right? Like,
Yeah.
not guess that. Like,
it's Sam Shepard. It's like,
yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
that's
as
like
soon as
casting
Sam
Ed
Shepard turns
Harris.
up, you're like,
As,
Right.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay.
But
Right.
I will also say, like,
And he's
go
in
back-
cahoots with Fred Ward.
Yeah, but to go back to what I was saying about it being, I think, ahead of its time, underrated. Like the fact that we're comparing it to Wind River, like neo-western,
sure.
and the fact that we're comparing it to Scorsese. And what I really, really liked was that very, very last shot, the absolute last shot of the movie, which is the whole movie is taking place in native land, essentially, after we've seen Val Kilmer, you know, from wherever he is, FBI land he's brought in, is that last shot of he drives up. And it's something like that I want to get into as a non-American, all right, is that I never really fully understood until I moved here about the idea of this is native land, this is native nation, this is a native nation, this is the United States, but you actually drive through places that aren't the United States. It's a native nation. It's their rules, it's their laws, it's their police. It's like something to me is like as a foreigner, it's almost bizarre to me. But that very last shot where he's gone through it all and he's still alive and he's connected to this, that, and the other, and he drives up, and that very last shot is this pullback of him just coming to a highway. It's I-35, it's I-10, it's whatever the hell it is, but he just drives that few whatever on dust roads, and then he comes up to civilization, which is just people driving so fast and ignoring what they're driving past. And
Yeah, like it completely, not knowing everything, all of the murder and gunfire that just happened.
Everything that's just happened is fucking irrelevant to them because it happened on native land. They don't give a shit. And it's such a subtle little thing. But when I was like watching the movie, like that's what I mean is I genuinely think Thunderheart needs people to go back to it. You know, needs to have a reevaluation for what it is.
Yeah. And clearly, I think it was funny that we picked it for this episode because I went to go look at Amazon. The Blu-ray just came out this week.
Wow.
So
they're clearly, like I said, Amazon obviously follows our podcast because as soon as we did
Oh,
the Wraith, what fucking turned up on Prime? The Wraith
4K. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Hell yeah.
Bezos, don't be a fucking pussy.
But yeah, I was very, very pleasantly surprised by this movie. It was strange. I've never heard of this.
I'm
before.
mad at myself for not have ever seen it.
Yeah, because I would have loved this. Like way back in the day, had I watched it, I would have been a big champion for this movie. So.
It's a sleeper. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Like it really is. Like I said again, I'm like you guys. Never would have watched it. Never would have done anything. But it was Mrs. It was years ago, and it was like I don't know. It was on cable or whatever. But Mrs. was like, "Oh no, Thunderheart. Thunderheart's a good movie," and I'm like, "All right, give it a go." Remember enjoying it, visiting it again now, 15 years later, like I said, I think it's that very subtle, it's very understated, it's a very underrated movie.
Is it an absolute banger? Is that what you're trying to say?
It's not so much an absolute banger. It's a movie.
It is a sleeper hit for sure.
Exactly. It's a movie you should watch.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a movie like if you're trying to impress your friends for movie night, you fucking bust out Thunderheart, you're gonna blow their tits off.
Yeah.
Much like in this movie.
Multiple times. Yeah.
So then we're gonna go from this. So I will say that Thunderheart is definitely a cousin of Badlands. Now, so Badlands, so we got into South Dakota, and so, like I said, we've been doing this for a year. We've had our special, episodes, but we've got about like five states to go. We landed on South Dakota, and all of us were kind of like, all right, what's this kind of going to be? But we got into the kind of the Googling, and Badlands kind of popped up. Terrence Malick popped up. We're all interested in that
because we are a prestige movie podcast.
Well, we are now.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But none of us have seen this, right? Honestly, I'd never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it until last week when we get Googling it. But I bust into it, and it's fascinating movie.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
This came out in 2013.
73.
73, which is crazy because you watch this movie and it does not look like a movie from the 70s. It's wild. It looks incredible. Like the way he shoots and films is really, it's so unique, and it was so great to watch this with like completely fresh.
It was such a. I guess it's just like is traditionally Terrence Malick, but it's a weird movie. But it's not.
This is what like A24 movies try to look like now.
Yes, there you go.
Right.
100%. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's let's capture that, just someone doing something. It's just, it starts fundamentally, if you don't know the story, because none of us did, it's based off a true story of a couple. That traditional American
Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde, exactly.
Yeah.
Is that
Mickey and Mallory?
They go off on an adventure. A 25-year-old Martin Sheen, a 15-year-old Sissy Spacek. But I guess it's just the Terrence Malick of it all, and I think that kind of matches up with the Michael Apted that we had, with a documentarian. That Terrence Malick is kind of like about the reality. So instead of it being like setting up a scene or playing out a scene, it's just a scene.
Yeah, just capturing like vignettes almost.
Yeah, and it's a weird movie. And the more by the time I got to the end of the movie, and Martin Sheen is, when he's kind of just being like a personality to all the cops, and the cops all like him.
Who wants a pen? You want a pen?
Yeah, and they're all just like, "Oh, have a good time," or he's like, "Oh,
this guy murdered so many people."
Yeah, just fucking murders everybody.
Yeah.
And like by the end of the movie, they're just like, "No, this guy's okay."
Yeah.
I was like,
he's pretty cool. I'd have a beer with this guy.
Yeah, thank you. But like, it just, how did you guys react to this movie? Because like first 10 minutes, I was like, okay. Then as it developed through, I honestly was kind of all in, and then by the end, like I said, I was texting you guys going, "I can't believe that True Romance is this exact movie."
Yeah, it's just different scenes of them on the run, because he hooks up with this girl. The father does not approve. He gets shot. Then they're like, "Well, we got to get the fuck out of here." So they go live in the woods. Then they're on the run. So then he's shooting fish but it's basically just like, that's the thing with these Terrence Malick films. They're all just like, you're right. They're all just like scenes. They're beautifully shot scenes with little to no structure or like flow. But this one, I mean, I enjoyed this.
I found it like, remember when we did New Jersey? So we did New Jersey like a week or two.
We did?
Yeah, but like when we did the
Class Action Park?
No. The one with the dude
Garden State.
Scrubs. Garden State, and we were talking about how for the first sort of like
Yeah.
30 minutes, because he's on lithium, because he's on drugs, it's like he's not reacting to things. And it was so weird to me that both Sissy Spacek and Martin Sheen's characters, they said things, but they didn't really react to them. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Martin Sheen kills Sissy Spacek's dad, and she goes, "Oh, I guess that's happened." And then
Yeah.
they're hiding out in the forest, and he kills.
You get her voiceover too, which like
which,
furthers
again,
that.
true romance,
Yeah.
as will
Yeah.
discover. But it's like, that was the thing that to me was like, it's so strange and bizarre to this tale, is that they're not reacting. It's almost like I guess sociopath or psychopath. I don't get me. I'm not a psychologist. But
Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
just killing because yeah.
...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and then you have the score of this film juxtaposed to that, which couldn't be further from the subject matter that you're seeing.
It was goofy. It was a
Yeah.
goofy soundtrack.
Dun,
I'll
dun,
just
dun,
come out and
dun,
say
dun.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great.
it's
which is
somebody accidentally swapped out the wrong
Yeah.
musical score, and Malik was like, who cares? Just put it in there.
You're
anyway.
definitely going to have comments when you watch True Romance, because it's the exact same song. Exact same.
Yeah.
It's the
Pretty much.
exact
Yeah.
same song.
My God. I mean, yeah, like the Sissy Spacek like voiceover was really throwing me for the entire movie, because I was just like, it felt like they gave her the lines like 10 seconds before she started recording. She's reading it
Just
like
saying them, yeah.
like just a child reading a book report, and
But she is technically
she is a child, and it's
exactly.
yeah, it's really.
Oh, but when Joe Pesci does it.
Actually, I would have loved if Joe Pesci did. And then he shot my dad, and what am I gonna do about it? You know,
My new boyfriend shot my dad. Now we have to go to another place.
we gotta go hide out in the woods now, okay? Okay.
I sure hope my new boyfriend doesn't shoot another man. He did. He did.
Yeah, it's just, it was so weird, and like, yeah, just nobody's.
It adds this level of unease, at least for me. I was
unease,
like,
100%. Well, the whole movie was kind of unease, because from the second the movie starts, you don't know where it's going. Because that's Terrence Malick, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like Terrence Malick doesn't do state, like it's one of the craziest stories in movie history. It's like the Thin Red Line. Terrence Malick comes back after 10 years of not making a movie, 15 years of not making a movie. He makes this movie, and it's like, oh my God, what's his name? The guy from Predators.
Oh, Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody.
The guy from Predators, not the pianist. The
guy from The Jacket.
He takes his mum and dad to the premiere because he's the star of this movie, and he's in it for 5 fucking minutes because Terrence Malick has changed the movie. And it's like, this movie, it just at no point feels like a movie. It's like, and that thing is,
it's so unique.
It's so strange, because like watching Martin Sheen, I love Martin Sheen. I know so many Martin Sheen movies. We did him in New York, and we've had him I love him from just The West Wing, and so many things that I've seen him in. But even in this movie, it's like
Hot Shots Part 2.
And Shots. I loved you more. Is that it's just this? There's no acting going on. And that's why I find that when I looked into it, when you look at Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek, when they were talking about it, they go, oh my God, it was the greatest experience of my life. What is Terrence Malick? Who is Terrence Malick? How does this guy work?
How is Terrence Malick?
Yeah, exactly. Like, the guy is a fucking enigma to me.
Yeah, and apparently people love working with him, because he's had a lot of returning actors, and people are like clamoring to be in even his like boring movies, as like 3 he did like back to back that nobody cared about. But actors are dying to be in it. So he's clearly, he must be a good dude. I mean, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him, but yeah, he's just one of these filmmakers. And you said it, Ryan, in the text thread, like you talked about The New World. I had completely forgotten he had made that movie, and that I was in a theater watching it. So when you brought that up again, I was like, oh, wait, yes, I've seen this movie.
It's this Pocahontas film, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. I like that movie. But that's the thing, is like, you go to his movie, like I don't watch his films for like the structure, because it's so weird.
You're not going to get
different.
any.
Yeah, but but you watch it just if you want to like just look at some beautifully shot like frames. It's just everything he does is so stunning to look at. Like they're
Yeah,
not all bangers. Like Tree of Life is an incredible
yes,
movie, but you're just like, what am I watching? It's like a series of dream sequences.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sunrise, sunset,
Yeah.
birds.
People spinning. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that you said like Martin Sheen said like this is the best script he's ever read.
Yeah, ever
And
read.
I'm like, hey, I'm surprised there was a script. It doesn't
Yeah.
really seem like there was. And then two, you were in Spawn. What do you mean this is the best script you've ever read? Come on, man.
Oh
Your
my
brother
God.
Joe Estevez was in Werewolf. Come on, you must have seen better scripts.
The whole movie as well. Like people throw shit at each other the entire time in this movie. Every time that Martin Sheen is eating a piece of fruit, he then throws
Yeah.
it. And then
Yeah.
anytime like they just throwing stones at each other, it was like, guys,
A lot of animal cruelty in this film too. Like a lot.
a lot of
Yeah.
human cruelty too. A lot of
Nah.
a lot of people are murdered.
But not really. I said I think I was like, there's God, this is worse animal treatment than what did I say? Cannibal Holocaust. But not as funny.
So
Not
okay,
anywhere near
so
as funny.
for
Yeah.
those of you that haven't, like us, that have never seen the movie, it's a 1973 neo-noir that tells a story that's based off a true story of a couple that went off and killed a whole bunch of people. But it just plays it off in an almost ethereal
It's
way.
so
doesn't it?
nonchalant. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like you brought up Natural Born Killers earlier, and it's
Mhm.
like it's the opposite of Tarantino. That none of the
Mhm.
violence is glorified. In fact, it's almost perfunctory.
yeah.
Mhm.
And we're just kind of on this thing. And the whole movie, I found it so strange that Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek never get out of the middle ground of emotion. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Martin Sheen blows away her dad, and she's like, "Well, I guess
Yeah.
we should go somewhere else." There's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
dealing with
yeah.
it. There's no
Yeah.
like regret, and it's like it's the same thing with everything. The thing is, why does it work, guys? Like I would complain about this in other movies. I would go, "It's ridiculous. There's no growth, or there's no." Why does this movie work? Will, help me out here. Because you, like I said,
yeah.
you're an expert. I'm watching this
Yeah.
movie going, I'm watching these actors and they're giving nothing, but they're doing everything at the same time. And
It's
it's
very
like-
strange. Yeah, and I'm definitely have complained many times about movies that like where the characters are not ever raising their emotion beyond like a monotone. Like it annoys me every time. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't really bother me in this movie, and I don't know why. I don't
It's
know if
like
I'm
a
just so
metronome.
distracted.
This
Yeah.
whole movie is like a metronome.
Yeah.
It never gets, it doesn't speed up, it doesn't slow down. It's just tick, 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 tick. This is the movie. This is the movie credits. But
I will say I spend like most of the movie trying to figure out like what is this? Like what is and every Malick movie I've
What
seen.
type of film is this? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
doesn't
every-
fit into a box, and that's just
it's
it.
a-
It's just a Terrence Malick film.
it's a
That's the
I was gonna
box.
say, it's a Malick movie. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, every one of his movies that I've seen, I feel the same way. I'm like, I don't hate this, but why don't I hate this? Like, why, you know, I wouldn't call myself a fan of his movies. Like, I'm not going to watch Thin Red Line again. I'm not going to watch Tree of Life again, unless I want
No.
something pretty in the background. But
Right.
Mhm.
That's exactly it. That's all his
Yeah.
movies kind of are for me. at
but
least.
but you know, yeah, there's just something about his movies where I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm just distracted because they look gorgeous and the pacing feels right. And the characters are interesting enough, even though the performances they're giving is just not my thing at all. It's like the worst A24 movies
It's
fall into that
weird.
category.
Right. Right.
It's like but it stuck with me. It
Yeah.
was a real interesting watch. Like I'm not.
It's like
gonna
they
lie.
just shot a bunch of scenes and then cobbled it together in an edit to try and make a movie.
Well, I think he's definitely become more and more that. This being his first movie, I think it's of all, I think it seems to be the most conventional,
Yeah.
while still being
Yeah,
intrinsically
but that's
Malick.
the thing too. Like you look
Yeah.
at the time period of when this came out, and no one else was doing this type of film.
Yeah.
You know?
He kind of came out of the gate kind of
Yeah.
fully formed. Like he's just like,
Yeah.
yep, this is my style. And you know, there's only a few directors you can point to where it's like their first film, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that is
Right.
their movie.
Not even Spielberg was like, I got a shark. I don't even know what this thing is.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So
I love it.
it's impressive. It's impressive in that respect, you know. But in terms of did I like the movie? I'm like, I don't know. I'm right on
That's
the
what
edge.
I was just about to ask you because I couldn't tell you if I love.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a great film. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great film, but and you really need to be, I think, to appreciate it, need to be kind of like a film nerd, so to speak. But
Mhm.
am I going out of my way to rewatch it along with any of his other films, like you said? Well, no.
Yeah.
I'm watching Son-in-Law, baby.
Oh god.
See, that's kind of the interesting thing about Malik,
Yeah.
is that is kind of like you said, is like, well, I like it as a movie fan, but what does it mean? I mean, like, it's about
Your mic switched.
Mhm.
it's about people just want to see a movie. You know,
Mhm.
that's the thing, is like, so we're like, oh, Malik, he's all artistic, but at the same time, it's like,
We only get one movie a year. I guess we're
yeah,
gonna
it's
see
like,
it.
am I going to go
Right.
to a movie theater to see Terrence Malick be weird?
What
Or
am I
am
gonna do? Go watch Walking Tall like next the next theater? Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
100%. Car explodes for no reason in that movie. It's rad as hell.
Yep.
But like, so I have we talked about it a little bit before, and I know Will, like, you haven't seen True Romance. I'm honestly like, I almost feel like we need to do like a special mini episode of you watching True Romance, and then
We'll
go,
all watch it
"Wait a
together,
minute!"
man.
We could do that. Yeah. Just me being like every 5 minutes, like, this is the same thing. I just watched
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
It was honestly, I couldn't believe it in the first 5 minutes when suddenly the do 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 do, like the whole theme tune, which is one note different from the one that Hans Zimmer uses in True Romance. And then I was like, wait a minute, the voiceover. And then wait a minute, he's so cool. And then wait a minute, it's the same car. And
It's a good thing we don't get remakes like that anymore.
Yeah.
but it was like, but at the same time, you know, this movie got deep into, like, when they're driving across the Badlands, when they're out there in the middle. I was sitting there, and it's something I always bring up with Will, like I said, from our production background. I always think, how are they doing that? Because they were very much in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, you've got this beautiful, you know, that uniquely American thing that you get in American movies of being able to place a camera and to see this vista that you just don't get in England or France or Germany or whatever. Like, America, you are a massive country with these fascinating sort of, like, you know, natural things and states and stuff like that. But this movie, that when it's doing it, you've got the car driving across with the dust in the background. I go, all right, you know, and you're just seeing things like Tony Scott with oh my god, the two ladies when they drive off the fucking thing.
Thelma and Louise.
Thelma and
Thank
Louise, yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And you know, all these other movies that you've seen, you kind of feel like Terrence Malick was like, right.
I mean, that shot in Casino when you get the reflection of
Yeah.
his glasses with the car driving through it. Like, yeah, I mean, the guy's a fucking master, you know?
Mhm.
It's and I think that's the fascinating thing about Terrence Malick, is he's like the opposite of Michael Bay. He's
Yeah.
like, Michael Bay is, you know, like, I would just make explosive, like, and pretty shit, and people will pay money. Like, you know, I'm in a queue for fucking Disneyland. And then you've got Terrence Malick, which is, I'm going to make something confounding, confusing, and beautiful, and 3 people are going to be queuing up to watch it on a Sunday night at this specific theater.
And it's going to open with dinosaurs too.
Yeah.
Tree of Life is insane.
Yeah.
But it's like, but at the same time, I was on board with this movie. You know, and I think Martin Sheen, he was great, and Sissy Spacek.
It's
Like,
funny you said, like,
I was Googling like crazy during this movie, just looking at some
yeah.
of their, like, you know, the movies that they came from and the time that was happening, for just like, wow, it's, you know.
I was glued to this movie from start, and it's thankfully it's not a very long film. It's only
It's
like
a tight 90.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it's a
Which
tight
for this,
90.
like, for a movie like this, you would expect to be 2 hours 20, just long.
Yeah,
So when
75 hours long. It's Terrence Malick.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's filming you over 7 years watching this movie. No, it's Linklater.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was glued to like every. It was like, where is this going? What is this next scene? And then you get to the next scene, you're like, what's going to happen after this? Like it escalates at a snail's pace. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
like
he's
the-
a
Yeah.
mass murdering sociopath.
yeah. Again, but when I do it,
But the crux of it is like, yeah, it was a
Yeah.
peculiar movie that I would recommend.
yeah,
That's the only way
a good one.
the only way
Yeah.
that I put it. I've never seen another movie
it's
like
it's
it.
maybe one of his easiest films to watch. I
You're
think.
100%
Yes.
right,
Yeah.
because at least it's a movie.
Yeah.
Which, you know what I mean? Like we've talked about, like I said, it's like it seems like Terrence Malick just shoots things and goes, "I'll find the movie in the
Yeah.
edit."
This will make sense with a
Yeah.
voiceover. Don't worry.
Right. Yeah.
But
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too, man.
I like this
Me
movie a
too.
lot.
That's the thing. It's like, like from this week, I would say that, if if you're a movie fan, I'd say to understand movies, watch Badlands. The best movie is probably Thunderheart. Like, it's just, you're gonna enjoy it, and then if you hate life,
Don't.
And then those are the only two movies you
Don't.
need to worry about.
No. Yeah, it's funny. Even watching watching these 3 movies. I think I watched Thunderheart first, and at that point I was like, you're not gonna get more South Dakota than this, right? And then because even in Badlands, like I didn't get that. It's South Dakota. It's hard to get a sense of because in Badlands you don't get that sense of like that history and culture like you do with Thunderheart.
Right.
I think that one for me was like, this is probably going to take it. But then son-in-law,
Well, no, and
Not
I'm
at
with
all.
you
No,
because
not even a little.
because Badlands, they do lean into the South Dakota. They do lean into the idea of them driving
it's
towards
probably all shot in
Montana.
Texas.
But no, it was actually, was it Colorado? I think
Oh, I
is
don't know.
where a lot of it was shot.
Because Terrence Malick usually shoots everything, I think, in Austin.
He's
right?
very
Like,
Austin. He's very Texas. Yeah.
Mhm.
But no, absolutely. And the thing is about it, like I do enjoy when we get into the weeds of like especially when we had Jersey. Jersey was one of the hardest ones I think we've ever
yeah,
had.
that for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm with you, and this is one of those weeks where I think absolute fucking home run, and it's
Son-in-law?
Thunderheart.
Oh. Son-in-Heart?
Oh God. Don't give Hollywood any ideas.
Badlands, more like Great Lands.
But like I think the what it is for what it's talking about, for how they're talking about it, for how it's shot, for where it's shot,
Yeah.
and everything on board. I think this is one of the whole season, the absolute slam dunk.
5 out of 5 license plates, which is our new rating system
Yeah.
for movies.
Introducing our new rating system almost at the end of, of getting through all the states.
I just figured it out. We just started doing it. I don't know.
But like, I mean, guys, is there any argument on this? Because it was
No.
such a sleeper movie. Because I love the fact that you guys, like, none of you had even heard of it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah,
for
you
me,
keep saying it.
I've got it. I've got a home run. But when I finished it, I was like,
Nervous.
wow,
Yeah. It's great.
it was
Yeah.
it was legit. So
Like I said, now that it's out on Blu-ray, I'm going to be picking it up. So
Hell yeah.
So this is okay. So there we go. So right now, like usually we like to get into this moment where we're going to get into the debate, but there is literally no debate. If you want to get into the idea of South Dakota, if you want to see what it looks like, if you want to ask some questions, if you want to have conversations afterwards, Thunderheart, 1992, neo-western, directed by Michael Apted, starring Val Kilmer, Sam Shepard, Graham Greene, is an absolute banger. You're not going to go wrong on this movie. And I think that's one to add into your list for being just surprising. And it was like a joy, genuinely, to rediscover this movie this week. And like texting you, talking about, we're talking about Wind River. And like I said, we're talking about,
No Country for Old Men and True
Of course,
Detective. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just
Oh
like
yeah.
all of
Yeah.
these just amazing things that we love, and we're like, wow, 1992, they were already there.
Yeah.
We just weren't ready for
I can't wait for the remake.
it. With Mario bouncing around, or some like an animated character, or something this, that, and the other. But like, so that's it. No, I'm so happy with it because like
Yeah.
it goes right back to the beginning, honestly, of me talking about American movies with Mrs. And this is one of those very first ones. So yeah, I think this is one of those genuinely happiest, one of those, the movie here at the United States of Movies that defines the state of South Dakota without question is the movie Thunderheart, 1992. Michael Apted. Look it up, watch it, enjoy. It's beautiful. It's wonderfully shot. It's deep. It's interesting. It's well acted, and it's gonna surprise you in so
Yeah.
many
And so is Son-in-Law.
so well, you know
I
what?
can't wait for you to post your little video, and all of our listeners will come to my defense and tell me how right I am yet again.
So yeah, absolutely. The Paul, yeah, you're 100% right. Paulie Shaw is no, guys, seriously, no.
He's a National Treasures Book of Secrets.
Well, there you go. That's actually the question I wanted to then bring up, because of course at this moment we have to ask the also rans, and yes, you are right, because any movie that features all of those presidents' faces, help me out, guys.
Mount Rushmore.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Native people do not like this thing, but Mount Rushmore.
So weird that it's a naturally occurring mountain too.
Yeah,
It's
it's so strange.
how bizarre.
And they keep adding phases.
What were some of the also ones? Because there weren't that many, but there's a lot of that kind of.
I almost picked Starship Troopers.
Oh, you almost did, and I was on board.
I
famously,
wish you had.
but it's famously set in Argentina. Or Buenos Aires. Yeah.
Buenos Aires.
With a quick stopover in Zagama Beach.
Hey.
Anyway, so
I
one of my
was
favorite lines in that
tempted
movie.
for a moment by Deadwood the movie, considering I've never watched an episode of Deadwood, and I hear it's fantastic. The HBO sort of like, the cowboy show.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right,
That-
Deadwood the movie. But were there any other movies? Because honestly, like we talk about it all the time, there are some states you can be spoilt for choice, and there are other states where it's kind of tough. And considering the kind of tough that we've waded into, I'm quite happy, apart from Son-in-Law, about where we ended up with.
I mean,
But are there other movies we could have gone with?
I mean, I was at one point gonna pick North by Northwest because I'm like, I know the ending takes place there, but like
How
the
did we
rest
not-
of the movie doesn't.
I've
No,
never
so-
seen that, and I was so excited for you to pick that. Like
Yeah.
I've always
But-
wanted to watch North by Northwest, but like,
Will, you were almost going to pick a movie called Bigfoot,
Well, okay, so
Oh,
that did
and
crop
you're
up.
shitting on my son-in-law pick? Come on.
I didn't pick it. So
Yeah, true.
and the reason we came close to picking Bigfoot because it's like, oh, isn't this a fun bad movie? But and much love to everybody who works at the studio. No hate on any of you guys. It's an asylum movie, and asylum movies are tough even for me to watch.
Is it like a Mystery Science Theater kind of deal, or
No, it's kind of like how Roger Corman made a bunch of B movies back in the. It's like that, except I'm not convinced that they love movies. Like Roger Corman loved movies, not convinced Asylum does.
I can't wait for you to pick this next season because I want to watch that movie.
In Asylum, speaking of which, they do have a movie called Atlantic Rim, starring Graham Greene. So there you go.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because you know what? So when I was investigating the idea of a movie podcast, one of the ideas I had was to do that.
Still a great idea.
The version, the not version of every movie. So the asylum version of every movie is the how did this not also not get made?
It's a terrible title.
Yeah, no, of course. But it was like the idea of like all these terrible movies that have been made, Asylum has made an even worse version. And I kind of wanted to get into the rip-off version. So yeah, I was.
Could you now think about this? Think about the fucking hubris of this guy. Let's watch 3 of those movies a week.
Oh my god.
You
I mean-
absolute monster.
1 minute into Transmorphers, and you're like, I don't ever want to watch a movie again. So that would be rough.
There is
What are you,
though,
anti-trans? What the hell?
if you get
I'm
into it,
anti-morphers.
Oh, okay. Well,
If you
that
get into
I'm
it,
on board with.
I was tempted for like the first. So they had Bigfoot, which honestly I had my fingers crossed.
We might have to for next season, you
Sixes.
know.
Leprechaun as well. The first
Leprechaun? Leprechaun?
Leprechaun.
Oh, I thought you meant the offbeat version of the off-brand
The
version of
silent
Leprechaun.
one.
Yeah.
There is National Treasure 2, which famously involves finding a bunch of gold underneath, like you guys were saying.
Curly's grave. Yeah.
Was Dances with Wolves not up there?
Dances
Did we
with
not-
Wolves is on there, but the thing is, it's been there for 3 states so far. We're so
Okay,
far
right.
unclear
Yeah.
as to how
Yeah.
much of that movie takes place anywhere.
Gotcha.
Like Hidalgo. I love the fact that like one of the ones that suggested is Nebraska, and I'm like,
Huh.
I'm pretty sure that takes place in. Hang on a second. Carry the
Oh
one.
man, I could have picked Mercury Rising.
Yeah, Mercury Rising's out
I couldn't
there.
tell if that movie took place all in because I was gonna
No,
pick
sure it
that, but
doesn't.
I couldn't figure out if that was like entirely set there.
So there's
That's-
a lot of kind of like being out there. There's Wild Bill. Every single movie that I'm seeing is very much either kind of.
Oh, I could have picked North. I love that
No,
movie.
you fucking dare pick.
I love that movie.
Nobody picks North. But
Aw.
every single other movie that I'm seeing on this whole thing is people.
Not as good as Son-in-Law. Yeah,
It's
I know.
Native American. It's people riding horses. It's westerns. It's this, that, and the other. So I'm like, I'm interested to see. Honestly, fuck it. I'm backing up. I can't wait to watch Bigfoot next season.
Oh,
Will, you better.
oh boy.
Yeah.
But that being said, for all the randomness that was South Dakota, we did end up in a pretty interesting place with Terrence Malick, with this 90s Deacon's shot movie that neither of you have seen. And then also, as much as bullshit it was, but the Pauly Shore movie is very much reflective of that time, of us growing up. It was an interesting week. As always, I really do enjoy this particular experiment. The only thing we have to do now is we are approaching the finish line. I'm very excited. But we have to figure out where we are going for our next adventure. So we're going to use the magical pen.
Gonna be fucking North Dakota.
I know. So we have North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Utah, and Indiana left to go. So where are we going? Oh shit. Yeah, we're going to North Dakota, guys.
Flip it again.
North
Flip it again.
Dakota!
Flip it again. Flip it again.
Again. 2 out of 3.
That's 2 out of 3. Yeah. That's 5
It's
out of 7.
happening. It's happening. We're going to try and figure this
Oh.
one out. But next time
Oh.
we do an episode here, we're going to be visiting the state of North Dakota. This was a great week.
A second Dakota has entered the podcast.
Quick, I gotta post something to Facebook where everyone loves me.
They're
Uh-oh.
gonna love it. So at this point, fellas, thank you so much for, as always, the great and or questionable choices of movies that we had to do this week. There was quite the adventure. Next week, we are going to be heading to North Dakota. If you guys want to take part or be involved in this podcast, please join in. We love the conversation. Drop a comment here on our YouTube channel. Give us a subscribe if you haven't. Talk to somebody else. If you're listening to us right now, thank you. Try not to crash your car, but while you're doing it or folding your laundry, take a moment, pause, give us a rating, share it with somebody else. Talk about what's going on, jump in and give us an idea of movies that we should do next time. If you want to get involved in what I'm doing, you can find me as That Englishman in Texas or as Ollie Pettigrew on Facebook. You can find Will as Entitled Millennial. He loves to talk about movies. The guy knows more about movies than anybody I know. And if you want to get into the design of movies or honestly designs of any kind, Ryan right there, Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital. Find him on Threadless and everything else. The guy has incredible designs. Fellas, as always, what a pleasure it was. I can't wait to see where we end up with North Dakota. Honestly, I've got an idea. I do have an idea.
It's we all 3 of us have the same one idea. Son-in-law 2.
Oh god. Oh no.
But outside of that, Ryan, Will, I'll see you guys next time. And to everybody at home, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the United States of a Movie podcast.